Hello citizens and welcome back. In today's video, I would like to talk about some of the time sinks that are currently in the game and try to figure out if these are deliberate or just poor design, and think about whether we are misunderstanding their intent. As always, if you like this video, sacrifice a like to the YouTube algorithm and subscribe for more. And here's a shout out to our amazing patrons for their support of the channel and the armory. And the comments you guys are sacrificing are clearly working. The channel has had the best month ever. At the time of recording, we're about 50 watch hours away from monetization, so thank you all and keep it up. So, over the last few months, I've been hearing a lot of backers complain about how many time sinks there are currently in the game. Today, I would like to go over a few that I think are relevant and think about whether they're actually intended to waste our time or if they're missing something to make them relevant or if they're a placeholder for future features. So, let's start with the basics, tram rides and elevators. I know I talk about this one all the time. I did this in a previous video, but basically in every major landing zone in Stanton, it takes about 5 to 10 minutes to go from your hab to the vehicle spawn terminal, which is actually not that bad. The actual problem is that most of this time will be spent sprinting through corridors or standing in a tram, and this kinda gets annoying, especially when you have to do it several times per session. Now, there is a reason for the tram rides and the elevators and long corridors to be there. They let the game unload areas that you can't see or are too far away from, which improves performance, especially with the large and complicated cities we have now and will have in the future. So, is there a way to add more meaning to these areas? Well, not really. But eventually, there might be NPCs we can meet along the way and get missions and information from. Also, we have the technology to display real-time information on screens in-game. So we could have screens that show us information or news, basically giving us at least something while we traverse these areas. Speeding up the trams and elevators might also work, but would probably look weird. Also, I wish we could eliminate the short elevator rides at the Orison and New Babbage spaceport, because I don't think they're necessary and they tend to be broken quite often. Moving on, quantum travel. Now, I don't really consider this a major problem, but a lot of players are. The problem is not that quantum travel takes too long, because we know that eventually it will take even longer. The problem is that there is nothing to do while in quantum. Now, even that is not entirely true. We have combat interdictions that seem to happen on occasion, especially when traveling short distances between moons. And a while ago we had combat and non-combat interdictions on long-range travel as well. Some of you may not remember this, but it was possible for you to be stopped in quantum between planets and run into some pirates or an asteroid field with some wrecks or some NPC cargo ships. This gave us a bit of variety during quantum. So this problem could actually be fixed pretty easily. Just reintroduce the random encounters and maybe add some more variety so that we can potentially gain something from them. Though if I recall correctly, the reason these encounters were removed was that CAG couldn't find a good frequency of them happening, so that might require some tweaking in the future. Moving on, and I'm actually surprised that this one made it on the list. Food and drink. Now, food and drink are supposed to be a part of the survival mechanics of Star Citizen. However, it seems that the majority of players have the understanding that food and drink mechanics were supposed to be optional buffs, rather than something that can kill you. But this is not actually what I want to talk about, because these mechanics are still developing and may change. And I actually couldn't find any mention of this anywhere, so if you know where it was mentioned, please link it in the comments. But what I actually want to talk about is a bug that was fixed. Back in 3.15, every time you logged into the game, your hunger and thirst would be at 100%. This was a bug which was fixed, but I think it was actually pretty useful. I think it makes sense that while you're away, your character would find something to eat and drink. This would save everyone the few minutes it takes to find and eat something at the start of every session. Now, this is not a lot of time, but generally speaking, I think that for an everyday session of doing some missions for an hour or two, there should be very little time taken between logging in and doing what you want to do. But I will get back to this later. This list wouldn't be complete if I didn't mention the current state of the inventory. Now, I feel like it's important to mention that the upcoming wipe will make inventory management easier indirectly by removing all our items. But the more important news appeared in one of the recent monthly reports. We're going to get a move all button to our inventories at some point. As far as I can remember, there was no delivery date for this feature, but at least it means that our feedback is being heard. While this is nice, the inventory system is still not very user-friendly, and I often find myself wasting a lot of time moving items from place to place, and this problem tends to get worse with the increasing amount of items. There is unfortunately no easy solution to all the inventory issues. I think some of the performance issues will be solved in 3.17 too. Usability issues and missing features will have to be added over time, but I'm hoping that we will see some improvement in 3.18. Now, some of the things I mentioned could be considered bad design and should be fixed, but others like food and to some extent inventory might have a different purpose. Star Citizen is meant to be a simulation and moderately hardcore one as well. This means that your actions have consequences and you need to be prepared for the actions you're planning to undertake. And the time you spend preparing for certain actions should be proportional to the duration and difficulty of that action. For example, if I'm planning to deliver boxes for 2 hours, then my preparation time should be short to none. It's a low-risk activity and I won't play long enough to need supplies or refueling. On the other hand, if my plan is to spend the afternoon clearing bunkers with my friends, I need to spend quite a bit of time making sure all the gear, weapons, and vehicles are ready in the right place, and that I have a plan for restocking and repairing when needed. And this is the thing that will need to get balanced in the future. But right now, there is very little CIG can do about it in the short term. In conclusion, there is no singular time sink in Star Citizen. It's a collection of small issues that tend to build up and cause frustration. However, it seems that CIG is listening to feedback and trying to implement it as best they can. Though I fear that with the altered release schedule for 3.18, we might not get any quality of life improvements. But eventually I believe that CIG will find the correct balance between actual gameplay and the preparation gameplay. With that being said, that's it for tonight. Do you think there are too many time sinks in Star Citizen? Which one do you think is the most annoying? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, fly safe, and I will see you in the verse.